Okay, good afternoon. Shir is Eila Nishmas Tzvi Dov and Chaim Pesach. Moving up, you please take those books so we can see. Before we get to the Haftorah, I'll show you an amazing pasuk in the Ten Commandments that deals with current events. If you look at verse Exodus 20, pasuk Yud Daled. In this week's Parshas, before we get to the Haftorah, Exodus 20, pasuk Yud Daled. Shmos 20, pasuk Yud Daled. It says, V'chol ha'am royim et hakolot. All the people saw the sounds of the Ten Commandments. So the Medrash says, what does that mean? All the people saw the sounds of the Ten Commandments? How can you see sounds? So the Medrash says that they actually saw God skywriting the Ten Commandments on heaven. You hear this? Follow skywriting.
What about hearing it?
Exodus 20, verse 14, it says, all the people saw the sounds of the Ten Commandments. So the question is, what does that mean? So the Medrash says that they didn't just hear his voice, but they actually saw the letters as God was writing them in the sky. Why was that necessary? Madu avalama. So the Chudush Harim says something incredible that's like prophetic. He says, if you look at the word lo tirtzach, do not murder, lo with an aleph means don't. But lo with a vav means to him. So if the Jews would have just heard lo tirtzach, without seeing it, it could also mean for him you shall murder. Because lo with a vav means for him. So just amazing. So therefore God had to show them lo tirtzach, lo with an aleph, not with a vav. Do not murder.
Because they sound the same.
If only Abu Mamzer, because our peace partners, they're murdering us. They say that God wants to murder, right? So lo tirtzach. So therefore it wasn't enough just to hear the Ten Commandments, but it was also necessary to what? Royim et hakolot. So they actually saw God writing lo tirtzach with an aleph, don't murder, instead of lo with a vav, which the Arabs say for his sake, for Allah's sake, you should murder. So let's take a look at the Haftorah, and we see Haftorah in the current events. The Haftorah Parshas Yisro. It's in the Birnbaum Chamoshim, and it's also here. Haftorah's Parshas Yisro. Why was this Haftorah chosen? From the book of Yeshayahu. In the Parsha, the Jews have a close encounter with Hashem. Right? All the Jews saw and heard God speaking the Ten Commandments. So it's a close encounter with Hashem. Right? In the Haftorah from the book of Isaiah, Yeshayahu Novi has his own close encounter with Hashem. So if you look at the Haftorah in Parshas Yisro, in the year of King Uzziah's death, I saw God sitting upon a throne. This is what the prophet says. You hear? So in the Parsha, we have close encounters with the entire Jewish people. And in the Haftorah, Yeshaya Navi has his own close encounter with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, the Ramban points out that when God spoke the Ten Commandments to the Jewish people, each Jew understood according to his own ability to absorb it. So the Ramban is telling us that the Ten Commandments, not only was the Ten Commandments a communal experience, but it was a personal one as well. So that's the kesher to the Haftorah. Each Jew had a unique personal encounter with God on Har Sinai. Just like Yeshayahu Hanavi in the Haftorah has a personal encounter with Hashem, so all Jews in Har Sinai, says the Ramban, like Yeshayahu Hanavi, all had their own personal, unique encounter with Hashem when he spoke the Ten Commandments. And Yeshaya Navi has his own encounter with Hashem, and we'll see soon. Now, there's no such thing as Ten Commandments. That's a misnomer. Can't trust the movie. The book is better. There are actually 613 commandments. It never says 10 commandments. It says Aseret HaDvarim, which means what? 10 words. Which means the 10 words. Or actually, if you count the letters in the 10 words, there's 620 letters. Which is Gematria Keter. What does Keter mean? Crown. So the Baal Turim points out that the Ten Commandments actually have 620 letters, Each letter corresponds to a mitzvah.
Wow.
There are 613 Torah mitzvahs and the 7 rabbinic mitzvahs. So even the rabbinic mitzvahs gets a letter in the so-called Ten Commandments. In the crown, the keter. So anyway, let's look at the Haftorah over here. In the year of King Uzziah's death, Yeshaya says, I see the Lord sitting upon a lofty throne. And Pasuk 2, Seraphim were standing above his service. Who are the Seraphim? The Rambam tells us there are 10 classes of angels. There are 10 classes of angels. One of them are called Seraphim, from the word Saraf, which means what? Burn. Why are these angels called burning angels? We'll see soon why they're called Saraf, burning angels. There's plenty of books if you want to look in, Nechama. In Pasuk 2, Seraphim were standing above his service. Each one had 6 wings. With 2, it would cover its face. With 2, it would cover its legs. And with 2, it would what? It would fly. Now, angels are not physical beings. Angels are souls.
Really?
Yes. The Rambam says when we die, we become an angel. The neshama is like an angel. Neshama is not physical. How do you see an angel? How do you see God? What does Isaiah say? I saw God sitting on the throne and angels. So the Rambam points out that this was just a vision in his head. God and angels are not physical. They're like the wind. How do you see? Ruach Elohim, Ruach. But in order for him to inculcate this message, God showed him a picture inside his head. Not that God has any physical. One of the Ani Mamins is God is not physical. And just like God is not physical, the soul is not physical, the Malachim are not physical. They're just what? Spirit.
Then how did they know about the 6 wings?
So let me talk. The Chama. But in his head, God showed him as if this was a being with 6 what? 6 wings. That's what he saw for the time. But in essence, Malachim have no physical being, because Malachim are like what? Souls. But in order for him to inculcate the following message, God showed him this picture. Okay? But not to think that God or Malachim have any physical what? Character traits. Because our neshama, we are all part of God, right? Our neshama, it's invisible. But he got this message, this picture inside of his head in a prophetic trance. And he saw this. In order for him to inculcate the following message, Hashem had to show this to him. Okay? So, Pasuk 3, and one Malach called to the other, this is our Kedusha. Kadosh, 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 Hashem Tzavos Malcharetz Kavodo. Holy, holy, holy is Hashem, master of legions. The whole world is filled with his glory. So why is the word Kadosh written 3 times? Because there are 3 dimensions. Remember the 5th dimension? There are 3 dimensions, says the Radak. One dimension is the galaxies, the solar system. The other dimension is what? Olam Haba. And the other dimension is the physical earth that we have, we inhabit. So Kadosh, Kadosh, God is holy in the vast galaxies of the universe. God is holy in Olam Haba. And God is also holy, what? Down here on earth with us human beings. So therefore the word Kadosh is written what? 3 times. And also we know 3 times is a chazaka. 3 times a chazaka. So he has this picture inside of his head of God sitting on a throne. God doesn't sit. God is not physical. But again, to inculcate the message, human beings need tangible symbols in order to relate to the message. So he has this vision. And in Pasuk 4, the doorpost of the temple moved many feet. Now, was the temple involved in an earthquake? No. In his mind, he saw the doorpost of the temple move many feet, and the temple became filled with smoke. Holy smoke, Avi. Not holy mackerel, holy smoke. The temple became filled with holy smoke. Says the Radak, Ruvain, what's the message?
The burning korbanos.
That within 100 years after Yeshayahu, the temple will be filled with smoke when the Babylonians burned down the temple. So he had already a taste, and that's why he began to shudder. The temple filled with smoke, says the Radak, this was a premonition that within 100 years after Yeshaya's death, the temple will be filled with smoke when the Babylonians what? Burn it down. Okay? So he says in Pasuk 5, then I said, woe is me, I am doomed, for I am a man of impure lips, and I dwell among people with impure lips. For my eyes have seen Hashem, the King of the universe. Now what does he say that? I am a man, Temeis Fatayim Anochi. He wants to say, I'm a sinner. I'm not worthy that I should behold Hashem. Every human being is a sinner, right?
Right.
Koheles Perik Zayin, Adam ein Tzadik Ba'aretz, Asher Yasha Tov Lo Yechta. So he figures he's finished, he's kaput, he's a sinful being, and I just saw the Shekhinah, I'm kaput. So he's a sinful being. Why doesn't he say, I wear shatnez? Why doesn't he say that what? I write on Shabbos. What's the symbol of a sinful being? Ish Temei Savatayim Anochi. I'm a, what? Beautiful. If you check the Al-Chetz Ephraim, the Al-Chetz of Yom Kippur, most of them have to do with the sin of speech. Slander, Lashon Hara, gossip, nivel peh. Yiddish Ruvain. So he wants to say, I'm a sinful being. Every human being is a sinful being. So he doesn't say, I'm a man that wears shatnez, or a man that eats a cheeseburger. Ish temei safatayim anochi, Ephraim. What's the symbol of a sinful person? Temei safatayim anochi. Because most of the al-chetz of Yom Kippur have to do with what? With the sin of the mouth.
Right.
Lashon hara, motzi shemra, slander, gossip. Just amazing, Ruben. The symbol of a sinful being is ish temei savatayim anochi. I'm unworthy to have just seen, my eyes have seen the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then he says, Ubetoch am temei savatayim anochi. And I also dwell among people that what? Have impure lips. And as soon as he said that, Pasuk 6, one of the Srafim flew to me, and his hand he had a burning coal, and what? He touched my mouth and he burned my mouth. So Rashi says, why? He spoke Lashon Hara against the Yidden. The great prophet Isaiah, now the old-time hit parade, who's the number one prophet? Moses. Who's number two in the hit parade? Isaiah. Do people know that? On the old-time hit parade, one of the Ani Mamins is Moshe is the number one all-time.
Right.
But the Gemara Sanhedrin says the number two greatest prophet was Yeshayahu HaNavi.
Wow.
And once he slandered the Jewish people, says Rashi, he deserved to be punished. So Malachim came with burning hot coals, and they gave him what? A hot mouth. They burned his mouth. Now, even though it's true, the Jewish people do speak Lashon Hara, God says, I don't want to hear it. You got something to say, you say it to them. See, a Navi has a dual role, Nechama. When he's speaking to the Yidden, take off the gloves and when he's speaking about the Yidden to Hashem, only lovey-dovey. Does a parent want to hear that his child is rotten? A parent might know that his child is rotten, Devorah. He don't want to hear it. You got something to say to my children, say it to them. We are speaking about them to God, only what? Good things. And when Yeshayahu Navi said that the Yidden are slanderous people, then Hashem sent the Malach to burn his mouth with the hot coals from the Mizbeach. And once that happened, Pasuk 7, so he burned my lips, and behold, this has touched your lips, your sin is forgiven. So we learn from here, when a person does an Aveirah and he suffers a physical punishment,
Sin is forgiven.
sin is forgiven. Yiddish Ephraim.
Oh, good.
Once a person does a sin and he suffers a physical punishment, an ailment, a sickness, that's his
He
kapara.
must have done something.
That's his
also.
kapara. Right?
Right.
No one suffers unless what? The Gemara in Chulin, page 7 says a person doesn't even stub his toe or have a bad hair day unless God ordained it. So we must have done something, right? Remember that commercial? Thanks, I needed that. Remember that commercial? What? I'm dating myself, right? What? What do you mean a shortcut? A shortcut to Gan Eden, right?
Shortcut to
What?
get rid of all your sins.
Right? Okay.
There is a shortcut.
The shortcut.
Go through that.
What? So once he suffered, Hashem told him, your sin is what? Your sin is forgiven already. Okay? So now, this is all this prophetic trance. Right? So in Pasuk 8, I heard the voice of Hashem saying, whom shall I send? Whom shall I send to the Yidden to tell them to do tshuva? And he said, here I am, send me. So Yeshayahu volunteers. Now after the other prophets have failed, now Micha lived before him, failed, and the other prophets failed, God says, I want another volunteer. Right? So he said, I volunteer to speak to the Yidden. Okay, send me. Okay? So God said to him in Pasuk 9, he said, go and say to this people, surely you hear, but you do not comprehend, and surely you see, but you fail to know. Yiddish?
Don't volunteer.
But Pasuk 10, look at Pasuk 10, you see that? This people is fattening its heart, hardening its ears, and sealing its eyes. Yiddish?
Yep.
These people are what? They just don't get it. Sound familiar? They still speak about the two-state solution.
They're in denial.
They're in denial, Evelyn. They just don't get it.
Yeah.
So 2,800 years ago, the prophet says these people have spiritual cholesterol. Hashpein leiv amazeh. They have spiritual cholesterol and they have spiritual Cadillacs. Not Cadillac, spiritual cataracts. Avi, 2,800 years ago. Today's headlines. They're still speaking about the two-state solution, and Abu Mamzer is a peace partner.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Peace of the grave.
Peace partner.
P-I-E-C.
Right?
Yeah.
They just don't get it. Albert Einstein said, Ruvain, the definition of insanity is you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Different results.
So, different results. So, anyway, these people are too far gone. Pasuk 10, Yehuda, you see that? They're too far gone. They just don't get it. So Yeshaya Novi says to God in verse 11, how long will they be so verstoppt
I don't know.
and talk about a two-state solution? How long? When will they wake up? Look at 11. You have it there, Ephraim?
It was in the paper today.
No, it's in Isaiah 2,800 years ago, before the paper.
I know, but that's why you...
Just amazing, right?
Today. It was in the
Right?
paper today. Two of them gave up.
How long?
I don't know.
I don't want to read this. It's too depressing. Look at 11. You have it?
Oh boy.
And God said, until the cities become desolate without inhabitants, and the land becomes desolate and wasted. Unbelievable. Verse 12, and Hashem will drive the people far away. Now, Pasuk 13, there will be 10 more kings. One sec. After Yeshaya's time, in about 130 years, the temple will be destroyed. There'll be 10 more kings until there will be the exile. But after the exile, what happens? We come back. We are the great comeback kid, buddy. We constantly rejuvenate ourselves. Rejuvenate. Now, isn't it unbelievable that 3 years after the Holocaust, a third of our people were massacred and destroyed. 3 years later, we come back and build the jewel of the Middle East. The prophecy is found in this parsha. Nechama, look at 13. Look at 13. There will be 10 more kings, and then the tree will become barren, like an elm and an oak tree, which sheds their leaves, but the trunk still have vitality in them.
The roots.
The trunk will rejuvenate itself. That after the Holocaust, 3 years later, we have the wonderful state of Israel. Right? So, the prophet is speaking, yes, there'll be tzarot, and there'll be exile, and there'll be a Holocaust, but the Jewish people are indestructible. We're invincible, because we're a piece of the rock. Deuteronomy 32, God calls himself Hatzur. What does Hatzur mean? The rock. Rock of ages. Deuteronomy 32, they got everything from us. We are a piece of the rock. So therefore, just like God is eternal, the Jewish people are eternal.
We are.
Are we indestructible to ourselves?
We are worst own enemies. And you must have ESP because the next part of the Haftorah, Malka. Now, Svardim and Chabad Hasidim end here. Ashkenazim continue. Because the Svardim, the Chabad, the Kugel is burning. The Kiddush, the Kugel is burning. So Chabad and Svard Hasidim, they end here. But Ashkenazim, our Kugel is not burning yet. So we continue, Avi, with the next chapter.
Why do they stop?
Because the Kugel is burning.
Because it ain't over till the fat lady.
There's a Kiddush. But Ashkenazim, we have more Sablanut. So we continue. Malka's point.
For the fat lady.
Malka's point. This is the next part of the Haftorah. It happened in the days of Achaz, ben Yotam, ben Ezio, Melech Yehuda. Yiddish? There was Jew fighting Jew. Yiddish? Malka, we are worst known enemies. The Melech Yisrael made alliance with the king of Aram. Who's the king of Aram? Syria, to go fight Yerushalayim. You hear this? So, right versus left, Im Tirtzu versus breaking the silence. Today, Avi, it's kid stuff. To what Yidden were doing to each other 2,800 years ago, Dr. Abramson. It's kid stuff today. Breaking the silence, Im Tirtzu. We're fighting with words. But here in the Haftorah, it was Jew killing Jew, Devorah. That's why we have the Tzarot. The king of Yisrael, the king of the 10 tribes, made an allegiance with the king of Aram, Assad, to go attack Yerushalayim. You hear this?
Yeah.
Verse 2.
They're also called in Rome.
Aram, Syria. Look, Pasuk 2. It was told to the house of David, saying, Aram has joined with Ephraim. Now, it's not me. The 10 tribes are called Ephraim. Why? Because Ephraim was the most powerful of the 10 tribes. Most of the kings of the 10 tribes came from Ephraim. He was the dominant tribe. And therefore, he gave his name to what? The northern kingdom of 10 tribes. So, the king of the house of David got an email, or maybe a WhatsApp, that Syria has joined with Ephraim to go attack me in Yerushalayim. It rhymes. Syria has joined Ephraim to attack me in Yerushalayim. So he was panic struck. He's outgunned, outmanned. Yehuda and Benjamin against the 10 powerful tribes of Israel with President Assad. They're coming to attack me in what? In Yerushalayim. So he's panic struck. So Hashem sends a message. Hashem in Pasuk 3. You have that? You, the Pasuk 3? Hashem says to Yeshayahu, go and meet Achaz, you and your son Shar Yashuv. Yishayahu had a son, his name was Chanoch. What does Shar Yoshuv mean? What? Shar means a remainder will return. Shar means a remainder. Sherit HaPleita. The refugees will return. That Shar means Sherit HaPleita. That even when the Jewish people go into exile, and even though we have a Holocaust, a remnant will always come back to the state of Israel. We are an eternal people. So he called his son Shar Yoshuv. So God tells Yeshaya, go and meet Achaz, you and your son Shar Yoshuv, at the edge of the channel of the upper pool. And he went there because the king of Yehuda went to inspect the water supply, Avi, because the 10 tribes are coming with President Assad to attack him. So he went to check the water supply, if there's enough water. So God told Yeshaya, go and meet the king of Yehuda, even though he's a Russia, go there and tell him to what? Take a pill and lie down. Take a pill and lie down. Look at Pasuk 4, Ephraim. Say to him, Ephraim, you have it, Pasuk 4? Be calm, fear not, let your heart not grow faint before these two smoldering firebrands. Who are the two smoldering firebrands? The king of Israel and the king of Syria. They're like fireworks that disappear in a few seconds. Don't be afraid. Hashem is going to save you. Even though you're a Russia, but you are the custodian of the Beis Hamikdash, you're going to be saved. So don't be nervous. Why will I save you? Pasuk 5, Yehuda. Why? He's a Russia. Why? Because Aram, along with Ephraim, has counseled evil against you. Let us attack Yehuda, but they will not be successful. Why? Because even though Achaz, the king of Yehuda, was a Russia, he's going to have a son who's going to be a great tzaddik. Ruvain, who's that son? Cheskiyah HaMelech. It's very strange, Nechama, if you check the kingdom of Yehuda, you have father, son, tzaddik, Russia, tzaddik. There's got to be a message in Malchus somewhere in there, Evelyn. You check the kings of Yehuda, you'll see father and son. One is a tzaddik, the other is a Russia. Then the other, Russia, tzaddik, Russia. What's the message? What? Rebellion? What?
Nobody's perfect.
What?
Nobody's perfect.
This guy Achaz was a Russia, but the prophet, I'm saving your kingdom because you're going to have a son who is going to be not only a tzaddik, he could have been the Messiah. Avi. Cheskiyah HaMelech, you look in Sanhedrin 94, Yehuda, God wanted to make Cheskiyah HaMelech the Mashiach. But he didn't say Hallel on Yom HaTzmaot. I'm not making this up. You look in Sanhedrin 94, the great miracle happened where on Pesach night, there's 185,000 Assyrian troops about to swallow Jerusalem. And on Pesach night, they dropped dead. Now historians say it was the bubonic plague. But in one night, 185,000 Assyrian troops dropped dead. He wakes up the next morning, Cheskiyah HaMelech, and he doesn't say Hallel. He doesn't say Hallel. And therefore, Ruvain, Mashiach could have come 2,500 years ago. That means no Holocaust and no terrorism. He didn't say Hallel, whatever reason. Right? So we're still waiting for the Messiah. But anyway, the next pasuk, Isaiah 9, the Christians go to town. Chanoch. The Christians go to town with this. Chanoch, you have it? Isaiah chapter 9. Now, chapter 9, pasuk 5. A child is born to us. A son has been given to us. And the dominion will rest on his shoulder. The wondrous advisor, mighty God, eternal Father, called Sar Shalom, Prince of Peace. How does a How does he translate that? How does Birnbaum translate that, buddy? Yeah, but how does he translate that, Birnbaum in English? In English.
That's what it is in English.
That's what it is in English.
How does he say it in English?
Transliteration. Pele Joez, El Gibor, Abi Ad, Sar Shalom.
That's what Birnbaum does?
Yes, it's a
The
transliteration.
article says, "He who is a wonderful advisor, mighty God, eternal Father, shall give him the name Prince of Peace."
Shall give him the name. A son will be born to us. Who is that son? Not J.C. Penney. No.
They think so.
It's Cheskiyah HaMelech.
Who's the
And
son?
this is a prophecy to the king of Yehuda, who's a Russia. So he's telling him, I'm saving you, God says, not in your schus. You're going to have a wondrous son who could be the Messiah. You hear this?
Yes.
Vayikvu Shemo Pele Yoetz.
They twisted.
What does Pele Yoetz mean? The wondrous advisor will call him. El Gibor will call him Sar Shalom. That God, who's the mighty God, the eternal Father, he will call Cheskiyah HaMelech Prince of Peace. God who's the Pele Yoetz, God who's the El Gibor, God who's the eternal Father, he's going to call Cheskiyah HaMelech Sar Shalom. What does Sar Shalom mean? Not Sar Hapnim, Minister of Interior. No, Sar Shalom. Because he could have been the Messiah. He could have ushered in the utopia world. But he didn't, because he didn't say Hallel. Look at Pasuk 6, Yehuda. L'marbe ha-misra. There's a funny spelling there of a mem. You see that? In Pasuk Vav?
It's a mem so
It's a mem sofit in the middle of the word. Very weird. L'marbe ha-misra. You have a closed mem in the middle of a word. You never have that. A mem sofit is supposed to be at the end of the word. Avi, why do you have l'marbe ha-misra, a mem sofit in the middle of the word? So let's first translate the verse. L'marbe ha-misra, u'l'sholem ein kates, al kisei David v'al-mamlachto hochin oto, u'l'sada b'mishpat, u'l'tzedakah me'atav ad olam, kinas Hashem tzavot tasazot. So prophecy about Cheskiyah HaMelech, Pasuk 6, upon the one with greatness and dominion. L'marbe means greatness. He's going to have a great dominion and boundless peace, and on his kingdom, justice will be established.
eternal could be.
Why eternal? Because the Davidic dynasty goes to Cheskiyah HaMelech. The Davidic dynasty goes to Cheskiyah HaMelech. Now, why is the word L'marbe written with a mem sofit, Yehuda, in the middle of a word? You don't have that.
Because it's eternal.
So the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us, L'marbe ha-misra, upon the one with greatness and dominion. This is a reference to King Cheskiyah HaMelech. Now, it's unusual that you have a mem sofit in the middle of the word. So the Gemara says, because God's intention was to make Cheskiyah the Mashiach, who would mem sofit, who would close out all suffering. But it was not to be, because he didn't say Hallel when the great miracle happens. So it got closed out. The Messianic era should have come 2,500 years ago, but because a person has free will. God wants to make him the Mashiach. He didn't want the job. He felt he wasn't worthy, and therefore he didn't say what? Hallel? And therefore 2,500 years later, we are still what? Waiting for the Mashiach. Okay? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the El Gibor. God is the everlasting Father. He will call Cheskiyah Sar Shalom. Because Mashiach is going to be the Prince of Peace. The job of the Mashiach is to usher in peace, right?
Explain how the
That's why
Christians
Jesus Christ is
misinterpret.
not
But the
Mashiach.
crib,
He
right?
failed.
Because he failed, right?
Right, absolutely.
And Cheskiyah wasn't the Mashiach either,
I know.
right? But the Mashiach is going to be a human being. He's not going to be a godly figure. He's going to be a human being like Cheskiyah HaMelech. You know, Shlomo HaMelech could have been the Mashiach.
Too many wives.
If he wouldn't have married all of those shiksa wives, he would have been the Mashiach.
Too
And not have
many
children.
wives.
Right?
And not have children.
Too
Right?
many wives.
So,
Especially that Egyptian.
right? Mashiach is a human being, but he has to be from the house of David. Right? The Ariel Kodesh says David himself could have been the Messiah. If David would not have taken Bathsheba when he did, if he would have had Savlonut,
Right, he was meant
then he would have been the Messiah.
He was meant to have
He wouldn't have the, but
He would have had.
Halzachain, how do you say that?
Also,
Halzachain.
but she told him to hold
Right?
Abigail.
If he would have waited and gotten Bathsheba
and he
legally,
was supposed to have it.
he would have been the Messiah 3,000 years ago.
Right.
So, we have many potential, Bar Kochba could have been the Messiah. And he also messed
He
up.
messed up.
Right? But the point is that Messiah is a human being,
Right.
not a godly figure.
Right.
That's paganism. Christianity
That's Christianity.
took that idea from paganism. That there's going to be a divine savior. But that's paganism. Right? Mashiach is going to be a human being from the house of King David, not a divine being. So anyway, let's get back to the Parsha. The Parsha, Yisro. Take a look at Parshas Yisro. Look at Parshas Yisro. In the Ten Commandments, actually the 613 commandments, never says 10 commandments, it says Aseret Hadvarim Ephraim. 10 words. The movie, you can't trust the movie, the book is better, right? Now, if you look at Exodus 20, Pasuk 8, Yehuda, where it introduces Shabbos, it says, 6 days you shall work, and on the 7th day you shall rest. So the Pirkei de Rabbi Nosson points out, wherever Shabbos is mentioned in the Torah, it's always prefaced by what? 6 days you shall work. Shabbos is never mentioned alone. Chanoch, very strange. Shabbos is mentioned many times in the Torah, but it's always prefaced with Exodus 20, Pasuk 8, Sheishes Yomim Tavod, 6 days you shall work, and Pasuk 9, on the 7th day is what? Shabbos. Says the Pirkei, the Rabbi Nosson, obviously Rabbi Nosson was Haredi. Why is that? Just like there's a mitzvah to rest on Shabbos, there's a mitzvah to work during the 6 days. And therefore, whenever Shabbos is mentioned in the Torah, it's never mentioned alone. It's always prefaced by what? Sheishes Yomim Tavo. V'yom Shvi Shabbat, says the obviously Rabbi Nosson, Haredi rabbis from 2,000 years ago. Why? Just like there's a mitzvah to rest on Shabbat, there's a mitzvah to work during the week. So working is a mitzvah. Who says that? Obviously Rabbi Nosson on Exodus 20, Pasuk 8 and 9. But some people say, Chanoch, don't confuse me with the facts.
Rabbi.
Yes?
In Pirkei Avot,
That's right.
Beautiful.
it says,
Kol Torah she'enim malacha sofa b'teila. That's Sprecher Avot. But Ovid the Rabbi Nosson corroborates that with this pasuk, Ephraim, this pasuk, that Shabbos is always introduced with Sheishes Yomim Tavod. V'yom Hashvi Shabbat. Never says Shabbos alone. You had a question?
Yeah,
What?
we're not working physically on Shabbat.
What?
We're trying to work on our spiritual elevation. Why
Beautiful.
Why is that called
During the
rest?
6 days, you have to be productive in the physical sense. Beautiful. During the 6 days, you have to be productive in the physical sense. On Shabbos, you're supposed to work on your spirituality. Ain't going to work on Saturday. Not in the physical sense. But Shabbos is a day to rejuvenate. Ruben, rejuvenate. So during the week, you're working for your physical needs. And on Shabbos, Avi, you're working on what? Your spiritual needs. How? By eating kugel on Shabbos. It's incredible, Connie. By eating kugel, I'm not joking, by resting on Shabbos, taking a Shabbos nap, and eating kugel on Shabbos, somehow, you are what, Ephraim? You are what?
Recharging your battery.
You're recharging your spiritual battery. Eat kugel on Wednesday, Shoshana, you're not recharging your spiritual battery. You take a nap on Wednesday, you're not recharging spiritual battery. There's something about Shabbos Kodesh, that kugel and chulent and a nap, you're recharging your spiritual battery. That's the awesome power of what?
Shabbos.
Of Shabbos. Chulent on Shabbos.
Scotch?
Remember, you're drinking scotch on Shabbos, you're recharging your spiritual
Or
battery.
you're recharging a lot.
Scotch will recharge it.
Onik Shabbat. Onik Shabbat. Right? That's an onik not just for what? The cholent is not just an onik for the body, it's a twofer. There's no other day like it. There's no other day like
about
it.
Yom Tov?
It's a Ghanaian.
What? Shabbos and men olam haba.
That's right.
Shabbos is a twofer. Shabbos is like Kriyas HaMeson, with the body and the soul, right? Reunited, and it feels so good. They got everything from us,
Everything.
right? So anyway, the Torah begins the Ten Commandments. Look at the word, Exodus 20, verse 2. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Now, how do you say I in Hebrew? Avi. Ani. So the Gemara in Shabbos 109 asked the question, Ruvain, why doesn't God say Ani Hashem Elokecha? In Exodus 20, pasuk 2, it says Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Now God knows Hebrew. How do you say I in Hebrew? Ani. So why does he say Anochi?
Because Anochi means something more,
Ani in Hebrew.
Abbreviation.
Ask Ulpan 103. So Ephraim, you fasten your seatbelts. So the Gemara in Shabbos 109 says, Anochi is an acronym for FBI, CIA, NYPD, FDR, no, that's Russia. Evelyn, the word Anochi is an acronym. Please listen to me. Aleph stands for Ana. What does Ana mean? I. Ana, I in Aramaic. Nun, nafshi. God says, I, my soul. Kaf, tavit. I, my soul, I wrote it. Yud, yahavit. In Aramaic, what does yahavit mean? You have it. Again. Anochi. You gotta look inside, you see it. Aleph stands for Ani, or Ana. Nun stands for Nafshi. God says, I, my soul. Kaf, Tavit. I wrote my soul into the Torah. Yud, Yahavit. In Aramaic, Yahavit means I give it to you. So if you want to possess Kaviyachol, God's soul, what do? Study Torah. Study Torah. What?
she would say, yeah, I like that.
That's right. That's pretty amazing, right? Now, in the Ten Commandments, you take a look at the part of the Ten Commandments. You look at Exodus 20, pasuk 5. Exodus 20, pasuk 5. V'oseh chesed la'alafim. God does loving kindness to 2,000 generations, to those that love Him and observe His mitzvot. But He punishes the children of the fathers up into the 4th generation. Right? So if you look at Exodus 20, pasuk 4, God will visit the sins of the parents on the children up until the 4th generation. But God will do chesed for those that love God 2,000 generations. So Rashi asked the question, what do you mean 2,000 generations? Ephraim, we know the world is only going to exist for 6,000 years. Right? So Sif Chachamim asked the question, what do you mean 2,000 generations? A generation is 20 years? How much is a generation?
General.
30 years?
No,
20 years. How much is 20 times 2,000?
40,000.
40,000 years. The world can only exist for 6,000 years. So Rashi says that this is only a metaphor. Fasten your seatbelts. Rashi says it's not meant literally. It means that God's midah tova is 500 times better than his midah for punishment. For punishment, he will only visit the sins of the fathers on the children, only up to what? The 4th generation. But for those that do mitzvot and love God, 2,000, meaning 500 times 4 is what, Avi? 500 times 4.
2,000.
2,000. So the world is not going to have 2,000 generations, but Rashi says it's a metaphor that God's midah tova, God's good reward for us, is 500 times greater than his midah of what? Of punishment. 500 times 4. Says Rav Soloveitchik, you're sitting down, that this is a formula for marital bliss. Evelyn, you hear this? This is a formula for marital bliss. That the Torah is teaching that if someone does good, he must be rewarded and applauded 500 times more than when he does something bad, he's criticized. Again, Rav Soloveitchik said this is teaching, if you do good, you are good, you must be applauded 500 times more than when you do something wrong when you're criticized. Because when you're criticized, it's only up to the 4th generation. When you do something good, it's 2,000 generations. So Rav Soloveitchik said there's a mitzvah alachta b'drachav, to walk in God's ways. So he gives an example in families. Somebody does something wrong to a family member. So you remind them about it again and again and again. You did this to me, you did that to me. You keep reminding him. But if somebody does good for a family member, and you want thanks, you say, I thanked you already. To thank you again? So, oilam hafuch. When we do something wrong to each other in a family, they never stop hearing the end of it. You get criticized and criticized again and again. When you do something kind to a family member, I thanked you already. What? You want to hear it again? Yes. 500 times more. Avi, that's what Edzik is saying. You do something good to a family member, you must be applauded 500 times more than when you're criticized for doing something wrong. And that is the secret to marital bliss, says Rav Soloveitchik. Hashem's rewards 500 times more for good than when he punishes you for bad. But unfortunately, the way we act is Valachta b'drachav. We have a mitzvah to what? To walk in God's ways. To walk in God's ways. Now the famous question, how does God introduce himself? In the first of the 10 Commandments, Exodus 20, Pasuk 2, I'm Hashem your God that took you out, mi beis avodim. I took you out from the land of Egypt, from the house of slaves. Is that grammatically correct? Ask your Ulpan teacher Chanoch. Should have said, mi beit avdut. Mi beit avdut. Ask your Ulpan teacher, Yehuda. Anoichi Hashem alakecha, that took you out in Eretz Mitzrayim, mi bet abdut, from the house of slavery. It doesn't say that, Ruvain. It says from the house of slaves. What do you mean the house of slaves?
We were slaves.
But you're not in the house. You were in the house of your master. It should have said, I took you out from the bet avdut. That's a good question to ask your teacher tonight. Yiddish, Evelyn?
She'll say that the Bible doesn't go according to the rules.
Why mi bet avodim? From the house of slaves.
Because he was sending us a message.
Not the house of slavery. Because your masters were the worst slaves. If you enslave somebody else, you become a slave. Your masters were slaves. If you enslave another human being, you're a slave. You're a slave to the Yetzer Hara. You're a slave to the internet or to Facebook. That's the worst type of slavery.
Slave becomes the master.
Mibet avodim. That's the worst type of
Slave
slavery.
becomes the
To be
master.
enslaved to your Yetzer Hara,
Was it the slave becomes
addicted.
The slave becomes the
Addicted
master.
as a
It
slave
says
to a
that in,
cigarette.
That's only
Yes, what?
if you have a Jewish slave, you have to treat him.
You have to, right? Whoever buys an Eved Ivri is buying a master for himself. That's right.
It's not them.
Right? You buy an Eved Ivri, Chanoch. If you're having steak for dinner, you cannot give him sardines. That's the halacha. If you're having sardines for dinner, you can give him. But if you have an Eved Ivri and you're having what? Tofuri for dinner, then you can give him tofuri. But if you're having steak for dinner, you have to give him steak. Connie, that's the halacha. If you buy an Eved Ivri, right?
They didn't treat us that way, believe me.
What?
That way they didn't treat us.
Right.
Tofu's healthier.
Tofu is healthier. No cholesterol, right?
It's 100% protein and healthy.
You okay? But anyway, an Evet Ivri, you have to treat him, right? You can't treat him any less. Right? An Evet Kanani. But you have an Evet Ivri, Chanoch, you cannot give him degrading work. You know that? A Hebrew slave, you cannot give him degrading work. You can't tell him to clean your toilets. For that, you have to get an Evet Kanani. Right?
You can't even ask him to put your shoes on.
Well, an Evet Ivri, you have to give him only what? Honorable work.
So you can't.
But to clean the toilets, you have to get an Evet Kanani.
So he
What?
can't shine your shoes?
What?
He can't shine your shoes?
Unless he's Michael you. Buddy made it, he can't put on your shoes or shine your shoes unless he's Michael you.
What is Michael?
Michael means it says, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay, I'll shine your shoes today. Maybe not tomorrow, but today, okay? Be very careful how to speak to an Evet Ivri, a Hebrew slave. Who's a Hebrew slave? A person that can't afford to support himself. A person that stole and he can't pay back. He's zerbrochen. How do you say that in English? He's broken. Right? He had debts that he can't pay, so you're going to pour salt on his wound. Right? So if you want someone to do physical, degrading work, it can only be an Evet Kanani. Right? Or not an Evet Ivri. So it's amazing that Yisro was the Pope of Midian. Can you imagine Pope Francis? Dr. Abramson, imagine Pope Francis has a parsha named after him in the Torah. Parshas Pope Francis.
And then he goes and leaves.
It's just incredible. Evelyn. Parshas Pope Francis. Yisro was the Pope of Midian. How could he have a parsha named after the Torah? Not only any parsha, the parsha what? Kabbalah Torah. Isn't that bizarre?
No.
It's not bizarre. Why not? A righteous convert. Even though you're the Pope, you convert to Judaism, you're a newborn baby. You start with a clean slate.
Did you hear that?
God doesn't discriminate even against Pope Francis converts to Judaism. We can name a parsha in the Torah after him.
Prince what?
Pope
Prince
Francis.
Charles is converted to Judaism.
Prince Charles?
He is what?
Yes, it is.
What are you talking
The
about?
chief rabbi of England is learning with him for the last 2 years.
Prince Charles?
Prince Charles?
Yes.
Really?
I can't
He
believe
killed
it.
his beautiful wife, Diana.
He didn't kill his wife.
He didn't.
Did
But
so.
His royal family.
No, he didn't kill her.
Good
But all the children of the British Empire, they're all circumcised.
Right.
Dr. Abrams, you know what they call Britain? Brit. They say we are the people of the Brit. The Judah of line, the line of Judah is on the shield of British. We are the man of the Brit. They steal everything from us. They want to steal our land. The PLO steals our land.
They hate it.
They want to steal our religion. British. They are the man of the Brit. So all the children of the royal family, Ephraim, are circumcised. By a moil yet.
Yes.
He works on tips, right? He doesn't get paid. He works on tips.
They didn't give him permission to
What?
worship his father.
But what is it about the Goyim that it's called replacement theology? Replacement theology, right?
And
That's why we're so hated.
culture wants to make you perfect. And culture wants you to
We have to be perfect, right?
Except Yashka. Become perfect.
Then you become perfect, right? Unfortunately.
Like,
Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom.